On the 30th of July 2015, history was made. ZCCMIH announced the sale down of shares to the Zambian people. The historic event was held at the Pamozi Hotel in Lusaka. Finance Minister Alexander Chikwanda graced the event. ZCCMIH CEO Dr. Pius Kasolo explained the rationale behind the sale down.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I stand here before you as a proud and passionate CEO of an amazing investment company called ZCCMIH. The richness of ZCCMIH in its history is indeed unmatched by any company in our country, Zambia. Its portfolio includes significant shareholding in Zambian mining industry. In addition, ZCCMIH has interests in energy, real estate, farming, even banking. The majority of shareholding is held by the Zambian government, which owns about 27% of the shares. The rest of the shares, 22.3%, are held by private individuals and institutions spread all over the world. And today, we launched the sale of 17% of GRZ shares to leave the government with 60% shareholding. A bit of ZCCM. ZCCM is listed on both the Lusaka Stock Exchange in London and in Paris. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission, and indeed my mission as ZCCM, is to manage and grow these investments with the goal of maximizing shareholders' value. It is this vision that will continue to underpin the performance of ZCCMIH and drive its story to more successful in the future.
And in officially launching the sale down, the minister gave government stance on ZCCMIH.
Dear friends, compatriots, from the outset, I want to express my profound gratitude to ZCCM Investment Holdings for the laudable initiative to organize this forum that has brought us together to witness some landmark, namely the launch of the Government of the Republic of Zambia share sale down to the Zambian public. This is decidedly a progressive move. It's a significant step in the evolution of the Patriotic Front government's development agenda, which is anchored on creating higher levels of wealth for citizens as one of the credible ways of rolling back those insidious and unacceptable frontiers of poverty. Poverty is a major challenge to development. You cannot grow an economy with poor people who have no purchasing power. It's as simple as that. You may recall that during the 2015 budget presentation, we enjoined the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to enforce the requirement that all companies listed on the Lusaka Stock Exchange, LUSE, should be compliant with the LUSE benchmark of a minimum free or public float of 25% of shares. It is in this context that government has reduced its shareholding in ZCCM from 87.5% to 60.3% by selling some of its shares. This exercise is premised on a series of objectives. One of those objectives relates to widening the participation of our citizens in economic development through offer of shares to the Zambian public. The broad distribution of shares will increase the liquidity and trading of ZCCMIH shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Not least, the sale of government shares in ZCCM raises resources for the Treasury, as was provided for in the 2015 budget. The sale down of shares, the second phase of which we are launching today, was designed to be implemented in two phases. The first phase, which was a resounding success, was a direct placement or sale of shares to the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, with 15.8 million shares at stake. The transaction was successfully accomplished last month, and it is gratifying to report that all pension contributors, that is those that contribute to NAPSA, now own shares in ZCCM through their outfit NAPSA. In this second phase, initially 27,661,237 shares are being sold as to the Zambian public for a reasonable period of 2 months once the offer is open. A further 1 month will be allowed for other investors to participate, and this ZCCM will effect the mandate of the sale down. My dear compatriots, friends, government wishes to appeal to all Zambians, those that are in the country or in the diaspora, to take advantage of this golden jubilee gift by your government to meaningfully participate in the growth of the mining sector through share participation in the ZCCMIH. My dear friends, government is doing everything possible to strengthen the balance sheets of many sizable state-owned companies so that they can list on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. And this will enable the public to acquire shares in these outfits. It's important that before these outfits list, we clean up their balance sheets. Otherwise, we'll be defrauding Zambians by prevailing on them to invest in some lame ducks which will never yield them a return, a recompense on their investment efforts. The participation in the acquisition of shares in the other companies that will come forth to list will provide a salutary route of capitalization of these companies and avoid overstretching the already squeezed and overburdened taxpayers. It is our hope and also expectation that ZCCM will be a role model and exert what the sociologists would call a positive demonstration effect. In simple terms, that ZCCM will be an object of emulation. Now, my dear friends, compatriots, evenings are very nice, and I do not want to overstretch your attention spans. So I just want to say, before I sign off, I want to make a very passionate plea to all Zambians to own shares in ZCCM and in the other state-owned enterprises that will offload on the market through the LUCE as soon as their balance sheets permit that eventuality. So now, it is indeed a very pleasant duty for me to present to the Zambian people this golden jubilee gift, and I gladly officially launch the sale down of ZCCMIH shares. Thank you.
The event also had a Q&A session where the audience could raise their concerns. On the panel were representatives from ZCCMIH, Lusaka Stock Exchange, and stockbrokers.
You may be aware that all listed companies, as part of the requirements, need to have a minimum public float of 25%. And as our CEO has indicated, currently the government owns about 77% in the company. So part of the process of this sell down is to get as many of the public to hold the shares in ZCCMIH. If we look at the Minister of Finance budget speech last year, for the current budget, he did indicate that government intends to sell down to 60%. In other words, they only will hold 60% in the company, meaning after this particular sell down, where 17% is the balance that's being sold out to the public, we anticipate that the public will hold 40% in the company. So that far exceeds the 25% float. The other key point to state is that this requirement is not a figure that the stock exchange just dreamt up one day. The LUSE is also a member of regional bodies. We are a member of the Committee of SADC Stock Exchanges, which is a SADC body, where we've all agreed to benchmark our rules to those of the JSE because it's the largest market, emerging market. And that's a standard that we're benchmarking to. So one of the key changes to our rules that happened in 2012 was this particular change of the requirement for all listed companies to have a minimum public float of 25%. So we do recognize that that can't happen over time. And this is an example of the government taking leadership in ensuring that they also show that the company in which they're a majority shareholder complies with these rules.
So the offer price is 38 kwacha, and there will be more information in the supplement, but the minimum number of shares to invest in is 20, and thereafter in lots of 10. So basically the least that you can put in is about 760. And it was felt as part of the drive to get it as affordable as possible, and also considering ZCCM's recent performance, as we saw from the video, the price has gone up quite a bit. Ultimately, anybody who is eligible should read the document and speak to the advisor, and the idea is as many people as possible should then participate.
Much appreciated, Mr. Mwambazi. Over to Mr. Tembo, who is CEO at the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Now, we are made to understand that this offer is meant to get ZCCMIH compliant, fully compliant with the LUSE.
Most of your shareholding is in the mines, and the mines which are privatized, and the majority shareholders are elsewhere. So how are you going to ensure that the value is given to the Zambian shareholders in future? Because I'm not saying them or any particular, but some of them are very smart and in very strange ways they can siphon out profits from here, and the value delivered in Zambia may not be as much. So how are you going to ensure in future that the value will be really delivered to the Zambian shareholders?
We are diversified. We're in CEC. CEC is energy transmission and also generating. CEC have gone to Nigeria. We are on the CEC, top of CEC. So that means we're not on CEC Africa, but on CEC. We own 20% of CEC. And CEC are expanding in Nigeria. They're going to Namibia. And the other thing also, ZCCM itself as well. They also got their own base for energy sector. So expanding from mining. Yeah, you cannot really make sure, we are, inverted commas, minor shareholders in most of the mining companies. And that was deliberate. We don't want to run mines. We're an investment company. The only thing we can do, like we've done now at ZCCM, is that we've got portfolio analysts and portfolio managers who basically track our investments. So we would know how much people have mined, how much they have sold, and what are the expenses. So it wasn't like before when somebody can play with figures, but now we can track them. Yeah, whatever mining companies in the world, they still do transfer pricing, they do related parties transactions. It's nearly impossible to help them out. It's there.
My question is directed at the finance person. Just to share a bit more light in terms of your projections for the future for ZCCMIH, maybe the next 3 years, where do we see ZCCM going? I think I didn't get to hear that much from Doctor. Thank you.
It's a difficult question, but I think for us to be able to appreciate the future, we can refer to what has happened in the past. 3-4 years ago, if you look at the financial statement for ZCCMIH, there has been a continuous improvement in terms of profitability for the company, driven mainly by increased dividend flows from most of the mining companies. And where we are now, which also led to the position where we were able to restructure our balance sheet to become much more stronger. All that was driven by our ability to grow the asset base. Immediately last year, I think for the first time we declared a dividend, and that is again testimony of the progress we have done up to now. And perhaps to pick up from where the CEO has indicated going forward, the opportunities for growth in the mining sector, of course, taking note of the challenges in the copper pricing, but the projections, most of them, into the future are still fairly buoyant. You get some bit of turbulence temporarily, but if you see most of the projections, you can still see that copper and mining will still be able to make revenue. And also, in terms of our diversification strategy, we have thought that we need to sort of stabilize the income base so that we don't depend on the mining sector itself. So some of the measures that the CEO has alluded to, including diversifying into energy, into real estate, into agriculture, in line with our recent revisions in the strategic plan, are meant to stabilize revenue. So we think that from this point of view, the future is promising. If we do all the things that we are talking about, we should see a much more stable company so that you don't have a lot of fluctuations in terms of income. I think that's the best I can go. I cannot give you numbers. Thank you.
And on Saturday, the 1st of August, the Sale Down was officially presented to the President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu, at a state luncheon hosted by ZCCMIH in honor of visiting Malawian President, His Excellency Peter Mutharika.